Well, we think he's going really well, but we're not going to play him. So we'll keep him available in case something happens, but our plan is to hold him back this week and have him fresh for next week. So it's one of those that we've had quite a bit this year, and that for us there's a big difference between being available to play and being optimal, and so we're just going to be a bit conservative with him. But we do have a couple coming back too, so yeah. Parfitt and O'Connor didn't play, so hopefully there's a bit of symmetry there that makes a bit of sense.
You've had so many opportunities to speak about Tom and the superlatives of all the milestones and all the achievements he's had. Do you have anything that you can dig from deep that you haven't spoken about Tom before, as he sets such a big milestone?
Oh, I don't think so. I would like to think that when Tom's finished, that he looks back on this achievement with great pride. I certainly know that I will, mainly because it wasn't clear a decade or longer ago that this was even a possibility, much less a probability. And he's been able to fight his way through adversity, and at the 35 to still be a really important player for us. But it says something about the way he's been able to adapt not only his game but his preparation for footy. He was the type of player, a decade or longer ago, that I think the rule changes and the coaches were trying to sort of run out of the game. And it's not as if he defied that trend. It was more that he adjusted his game to make sure that he could still perform, given the way modern footy was played. So I don't think the rules, or I don't think there's been anything that's been put in place to help him have longevity. I think he's just found a way to overcome those obstacles. And I can't think of anything I haven't said before, but it can't be said enough just how selfless he's been as a player. I don't keep track of individual stats much at all, certainly not goals kicked or possessions. Goal assists is a pretty nice number though. I'm not even sure exactly where he sits. But one thing that I've always admired from even before I got to the Cats was watching him. He never looked like the forward who set his game up around kicking goals. That was always a byproduct of what he did. And even off the top of your head, if you think about him turning around and giving the ball to Jordan Clark so he can kick his first goal, that's not virtue signalling. That's just the way he is. He just doesn't measure his game that way. Which is why I don't feel defensive when I talk about the last couple of weeks, thinking, I get that it's easy to look at the numbers when you're judging someone's performance, but it's a bit counterintuitive to us because we've never thought that way. So that's not getting away from the fact, and that's why I preface what I'm saying with this is something to look back on at the end of his career, because right at the moment he's focused on getting into his best form. But I'm pretty sure over the course of the last couple of years, more than ever, we don't need Tom to dominate to be a good team. And that's taken a lot of work and a big contribution from him as well. So I'm not the type of coach that walks you through our plans and what we're trying to set up, but it's reasonable for you to assume, based on what I'm saying, that there are times where we deliberately don't direct the ball through Tom because that's better for the team. And he contributes to those plans as well. So I can't wait to see him play this week. It's a great achievement. But again, I think we all should be more focused on the now with Tom and enjoying what we've got rather than sort of reminiscing about the type of player he's been.
If you ever tell him big night for you, maybe you can be a little bit more selfish just for once?
I've tried before. Yeah, we went through a period where we would have guys dishing the ball off 20 metres right in front, and it's as close as I ever get to a directive. Don't do that, because my guiding light is always what's best for the team, and being perceived as being a little selfish. And I think even marking the ball on the goal line, our coaching style is if you are in any doubt at all, mark it. Letting it go and having the opposition touch it because you want to be unselfish makes no sense to me. Notwithstanding that, I think I have tried to sort of encourage Tom to be the focal point a little bit more at times. It's just not in his nature. So we work with what we've got.
Do you feel his selflessness has been left out of the conversation in recent weeks, even in the last quarter, passing one off to Cameron to have that shot? Do you feel that has been lost in the, obviously the numbers of him being goalless in the last 4 weeks?
All I've really heard is that in my press conferences that come up that he's not in as good a form as he has been in the past, and he hasn't kicked many goals. Other than that, I haven't participated in the conversation. So I can't have it both ways. I can't say I don't really hear it, but now I've got a strong opinion on what's being said. But anyone that thinks that's overlooked the selflessness, like, isn't watching. So the people that aren't watching, I shouldn't engage with anyway. But again, it's not. It sounds a bit defensive. Of all the players that I've thought I would have thought I might need to defend over the years, Tom wouldn't have even entered the top 50. So I'm not going to risk by starting now and getting defensive.
I don't want to focus too much on the narratives outside.
No, it's okay.
On Tom, but Matthew Lloyd said that he thinks that Tom is showing his age and that he's lost a yard of pace. You get to see him every day.
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
I would understand that would be, if I were in a media position, I'd work through it logically and go, the guy's 35. If he's not playing quite as well, what might be starting to wane a little bit? I'd probably go to speed as well. So that's a reasonably logical place to get to. But you need to fill in the gaps, don't you, when you don't have all the information. We haven't seen it, certainly not with our objective data. What I will say is, over the years, and this helps me a lot to keep things in perspective, when we've had poor games as a team, it's amazing how often internally, so I'm not talking about the people from outside who don't have the information, even internally with all the information, it's amazing how often we go to, well, we just looked a bit slow and we just looked like we couldn't cover the ground. And that might be true, but it's unlikely. Sometimes you just get beaten, or you just, it's just not your day. It's pretty easy to go to it must be a physical thing. And when it's a physical thing and you're 35, then those two things tend to go together. And I'm pretty happy talking about this stuff because I'm just so supremely confident that when he has a couple of good days, which are coming, the conversation will look after itself.
Jordan Sweet ruled out the power. Does it give you extra way of thinking to bring in Conway, especially as Stanley seems to be rested every few weeks?
Yeah, we would have brought in Conway this week. That was our plan, but he's just not quite right after a little hip flexor issue, which is disappointing because we thought that we'd set up his program to be in a position to play well this week. But at the risk of repeating myself, Toby's going to play when he's primed to play well. We're just not going to roll him out. And he's probably a little like Tanner Bruin in that, if in their mind they would think, I can still play, but we're just not comfortable that it's optimal this week. But again, that's a hard decision for us to make because we were really looking forward to seeing him play. And that would have been irrespective of Port's ruck makeup. But hopefully, that decision has him in good shape for the next couple of weeks.
You said O'Connor and Park back. Have you decided who else comes out as well as Tanner?
No, we're just going to have to work through that a little bit over the next couple of hours. And it's not deliberately being evasive. Even the Conway one's really just sort of landed in our lap this morning definitively. So that does change a little bit of the way we're thinking. So I'm loath to say something that then we change our mind on in a couple of hours and the team goes out and you think I didn't tell you the truth.
You inducted into the Cats Hall of Fame, all set to be in June, and what does that mean to you, that recognition?
I'm just so respectful of the people that have helped make this footy club what it is. I'm led to believe that Harry Taylor's being inducted, Travis Varco, Cameron Ling's a legend. It's I think if Cameron Ling was here, he'd talk about just how honoured he is to be in that group of people, and he's a legend. My mind just goes back to 2010, when I was a 34-year-old assistant coach, without any great designs on ever becoming a head coach, and I was parachuted into a great club with great people, and they've helped make me who I am. I've always been of the view right from the start, even before we had success in our first year, like literally right from the start of that pre-season, that whatever happens, I'm going to owe this club a lot more than it owes me. So I'm very appreciative.
Chris, can I just ask about Tom Stewart? He just seemed to be a bit hampered in his movement towards the end of last Saturday night.
There was something. It was so insignificant it didn't get to me until quite late, until I saw some of the vision. But he's just trained the house down this week and is feeling really good. I'm looking for a bit of... Do you know exactly what it was, Mac? Yeah, a bit of mild quad cork. Yeah, but he's good.
Obviously, you got the new assistant coaches on board for the pre-season this year, James Riley and Stephen King. I mean, what sort of impact have they had on the club this year?
Oh, they've been brilliant. So I didn't know much about Stephen King because he played at the Cats before I arrived, but what I did know is he had a great pedigree working at really good clubs with really good coaches. I've got a lot of admiration for Ross Lyon at St Kilda, Luke Beveridge through those successful years of the Bulldogs, and I think it's good experience for anyone who's only worked in the AFL industry in the southern states to go and work a little bit up in the teams north of the border, and he's done that as well, including coaching his own team. He's been super, giving us a little bit of a different perspective. James Riley's different because we knew him and we were devastated to lose him through the COVID years, and so any chance we got to bring him back, we were going to take it, and he's been, as expected, he's just taken up where he left off.
No Rosie for Port. Does that make you feel like a little more attention on Butters and try and shut him down if he's going to be the main man through the midfield?
Yeah, I think it's logical. Horn Francis is in there as well. In particular, he's got really good numbers in around their centre clearances. So I say quite a bit. The biggest trap you can fall into as a team is think, oh, Rosie's out. Now all we have to do is focus on Butters and Horn Francis and we'll be okay. And you forget that they've got 21 other players in there are pretty handy too. But it is logical that a little bit of extra attention on those two makes sense. But there's not a team in the competition. It might look different when you actually watch it and you can't quite see the nuance, but not one team in the competition is playing Port and going, oh damn, we forgot about Butters, even if Rosie was playing.
Did Marco Klein do a job on the weekend, do you think, or on Friday night?
Yeah, could do. He'll be in the 23, so that'll be up our sleeve. But yeah, I'll think about it a lot tonight. And it's an interesting question with a complicated answer.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of players. So would Butters be in your thinking? Do you think to shut down?
Well, I think he has to be. He's just such a good player. Whichever way we go. I mean, it'd be interesting to talk about afterwards because the only thing I can guarantee is that we've put a lot of work into him. But Horn Francis as well, without disrespecting Wines and Drew and Houston, and I could keep going.
John Longmile's pretty strong with the red card debate twice this season. One's been effective. The one that sort of came to mind when I was thinking about Geelong was the Prestia hit on Stewart, which I feel like would be a strong candidate for a red card.
Yeah.
The rules brought in.
Yeah.
When these incidents happen more and more, does it start to sway your feeling either way?
Those incidents aren't happening more and more. I don't think that's factual, is it? I think over time, there's not an increase in these sort of issues. There's certainly been an increase in the penalty applied to these. I think even if you look at the Buckley one from the weekend, 20 years ago, that was play on, great bump. So I think what we're seeing is that those incidents are being treated differently. I think there's a decrease in those incidents to my observation, but I don't have the numbers to back it up. The challenge, and I get Horse's argument, and the bit I completely agree with, is that it makes absolutely no sense to give a free kick. You penalise one team and give a free kick to the teams they play in the next 3 weeks, and the team that's been transgressed against doesn't get anything. So that bit makes sense. The bit that I struggle with is who would make the decision and what if they make a mistake. And I think that's one of the key tenets of any good system, that the risk of an innocent man being penalised is much greater than letting off a guilty man. And it would put extreme pressure on the people, because it would have to be done in the arc, I imagine, and they'd have to be really sure. And I think the one time they got it wrong, because it was, and I think the players are entitled to the presumption of innocence. That seems to have been lost in the world, certainly in the footy world of recent times, in my opinion. These guys are gone, it seems, before they even get to the tribunal. So having someone in the arc having to make that call, I think, is an issue. But maybe some thought should go into what about the team that's actually, had the guy knocked out and missing the game. There are interesting ways that could be done, but it doesn't dominate my thinking.
Do you have a suggestion?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a few times before, I think, but if I was Sydney, they've got to play GWS again later in the year. I just don't reckon he should be able to play against Sydney the next time. That would make the most sense. Why do whoever it is, Essendon, get the free kick? But of all the things I think about, it's not in the top 500, that one, so...